hanging people. This week's champion trends feature Corki, Morgana, Zac, Kassadin, Talon, and Braum. I'm Lindsay Geektron with ZAM Network, and this is LOLKing's League Trends. Let's dive into Summoner's Rift. Increased pick rates this week include Kha'Zix, Tristana, Thresh, Zed, and Corki. If you nerf them, more will come. Or something. After the nerfs to Kog'Maw and Tristana, other carries get their time on the field of justice. All hail the return of Corki. This wee guy is a bit different from other carries, because with the exception of his E, Gatling Gun, all of his abilities are magic-based. The poke he gets from Phosphorus Bomb and his auto attacks means that he has a very strong laning phase. When Corki hits level 6, Missile Barrage turns his annoying poke into a deadly poke. Goody! Rushing a Triforce works well since he can easily take advantage of all of the stats a Triforce has to offer. And since his abilities are spammable, he can easily proc the Spellblade passive, which deals an additional 200% base AD bonus damage on his next basic attack. Since Corki is mostly magic damage, he's a good counter to physical damage champions in the bot lane. Look for him more and more on the Rift. Champs on the decreased pick rates list are Rengar, Morgana, Vi, Gragas, and Renekton. For a while, Morgana dominated in the bot lane. Dark Binding gives her poke, disengage, and CC. Black Shield removes disables and absorbs magic damage. Soul Shackles creates peels for carries. So I suppose it was only a matter of time until the nerf bat reached Morgana. Black Shield had its shield value lowered, which means it can be broken faster and the target has less getaway time. Soul Shackles was also hit, but that was strictly a damage nerf and that affects her level 6 all-in ability. The idea behind these changes is to make the Fallen Angel less of a damage support and more of a utility one. Morgana is still a really solid support, especially against champs like Thresh and Alistar. We'll likely see less of her, but because of her flexible kit, she's still a very viable and solid pick in certain situations. Increased win rates this week have Rumble up first, while Karthus, Anivia, Kha'Zix, and Zac follow up. Recently in solo queue, Zac has been winning games against the top 3 junglers, Lee Sin, Elise, and Evelynn. He isn't really a top jungle pick, but he is able to survive the early game a bit easier than the other champions. The secret weapon does have good clear and scales well into the late game and offers a lot of initiation tools. What Zac excels at though is being a tanky frontline with crazy long distance initiation. Against aggressive top laners like Renekton, Zac has kind of a tough time. Current meta top laners like Maokai and Alistar are mostly about sustaining in lane, and since Zac can keep up, he's an alright counter. Ideally, he should be picked into a magic-heavy team because it allows him to rush Spirit Visage, which then gives him all of the stats that he needs. Most likely, you'll be seeing more of Flubber bouncing around the Rift. Decreased win rates this week list Viktor down almost 3% from last week. Singed, Dr. Mundo, Kennen, and Kassadin rounded out. Guys, it's finally happened. Again, Kassadin isn't OP anymore. The Voidwalker had the highest ban rate in competitive and solo queue for the longest time, and that time may be coming to a close. What seems to have nerfed Kassadin was the reworking of his ultimate, Riftwalk. It now takes 20 seconds for his stacks from his ultimate to drop, up from 12 seconds. This means that even if you have the cooldown to spam his ultimate, it's still gated by his mana. At first glance, it doesn't seem like much of a change, but this greatly hinders Kassadin's mobility. Because of this, many players have dropped him from their champ pool. It's unlikely we'll see much of Kassadin anymore, unless Riot buffs him. Again. The top 5 increased bans this week are Alistar, Nidalee, Talon, Kha'Zix, and Morgana. The Blade's Shadow has been one of the few mid-lane assassins seen in competitive play. With Rake, Talon has some wave clear and harass in lane. He excels at roaming and bursting down nearly any target he finds. He's got a gap closer with Cutthroat, and Noxian Diplomacy will increase his damage as well as leave a bleed that can finish off a target. Talon's ultimate, Shadow Assault, is one of the more interesting in the game. It can be used both as an escape and an engaging tool. He turns invisible for 2.5 seconds with a 40% bonus movement speed, which he can then use either offensively or defensively. Since Talon has so much burst damage, this ability makes him very hard to deal with. Unless you have a pink ward around you at all times, there's always going to be that threat of him going all Predator on you, which is terrifying. Finally, the decreased bans list this week include Kassadin, Rengar, Braum, Evelynn, and Lulu. The Heart of the Freljord got some nerfs from patch 4.13 that's made him a tiny bit tamer. but it seems more than nerfs are needed to affect his popularity. Braum's E, Unbreakable, can block a whole number of abilities, like Nami's ultimate, Tidal Wave. Learning what his shield can and cannot block is crucial because it can turn the tide of a game if used at the right time. With Winter's Bite, this beefy support and his carry can often proc a stun and burst down the target. As long as he's able to poke, his laning phase is manageable. His ultimate, Glacial Fissure, can be used either as an engage or disengage, which makes him versatile. His ultimate knocks up his target in a line and applies a slow. It's fun times, and you should look for these fun times more often on the Rift, as Braum and his fancy mustache don't seem to be going anywhere fast. And that is it for this week's episode. Please be sure to check back every week for the latest League of Legends picks, bans, and win rates. Please be sure to like and comment below, especially if you like this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, lolking.net, for more great content. I'm Lindsay Geektron. You can follow me on Twitch at Lindsay Geektron. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.